Is it also them on a related issue who decided to limit the size of the flags? Because I saw a news item on that as well. And well, I mean, we all remember San Marino last year and what happened over there. Was it also the Danish broadcaster who takes such decisions?
No, actually, we've had very good talks with OGAE International, who said let's talk together with EBU, with DR, and try to find a suitable solution so that the fans can enjoy themselves and show their pride and show their favorites
without it interfering
the act and the TV production, because in the end we want to give every performer a fair chance and show all viewers at home a great TV show, and if they only see waving flags and no performer, it's very hard to make up their mind about who they're going to vote.
Of course. So you guys went along with that?
Yeah, of course. We are here. We are fans of the show. We are fans of the songs and the artists. So we like people to enjoy, but we also like to have a good show to watch. So
yeah.
And we've had a very good cooperation with OGAE over the years. I'm very happy that they are on board, and in the end it's all of us together who make the Eurovision Song Contest what it is.
Yeah, and I can imagine that for you guys, you're not here only for the fans that are here in Copenhagen, but also for the fans that are watching the shows from behind their screens.
That's why we update the website.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so let's move on to something else, because this whole Ukraine-Russia issue is an issue mostly of the first semi-final, because as you mentioned, they're in the same semi-final. We've been discussing the first semi-final in our previous show as well. Let's move into the second semi-final, because Erik, what do you think about that? You've been blogging the stuff for your website so far. What stands out in the second semi from what you've seen so far?
Well, talking about booing, there's of course the controversial act by Conchita Wurst, but there are also another acts, like 14 good songs which are hard to be watched. There's like Romania having this hologram act, there's Greece with a trampoline act, and besides there are good vocalists as well. So, and it ranges from very complex entries from Georgia to very hummable songs from Switzerland. So it tastes for everyone.
Yeah. A little bit of everything in this second semi-final. One of the favorites is Norway, but we've been discussing with a lot of journalists so far his vocal performance during, for example, the Norwegian pre-selection. Has he got his nerves under control?
But that's one of the things that we've been focusing on, and just trying to keep my calm and try not to get nervous and not to think so much about it, and just focus on what I'm supposed to do.
So is it the cameras and the choreography, or what is it that's difficult for you, a challenge for you?
I think maybe it's a little bit of combination, but most of all, I don't want to let people down by doing a bad job, and I think a lot about that. So I just want to do as best as I can.
I really care about the people and I don't want to let them down. Erik, if you hear him talk like that, you always want to, give him a big hug or something.
He's very huggable. But if you talk about nerves, there might be more artists which are nervous on the big stage because it's impressive. And if you look at, for instance, the Belgian entrant, I see him and watch his body language and I think, ooh, he could be nervous as well and break down at the moment supreme. So, I asked him and he said, well, it takes more than a storm to blow me over, so let's hope it will be all right.
Well, and I mean, those influence of nerves, that makes the contest, which it's already quite unpredictable this year, I think, even more unpredictable, because you never know, even if you've seen the rehearsals, what is going to happen on the big night itself.
It's the tension you need to make a nice show. Things can happen and things will be surprisingly good or bad, and that's the fun factor as well.
Yeah. Sietse, nerves on the Eurovision stage, it's a huge event, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true, and if you look at previous years, you see that even the most experienced artists who have decades of stage performance, perform for enormous crowds in concert halls all over the world, that once they stand on stage in the Eurovision Song Contest, they cannot live up to the expectation. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you work towards that specific 3 minutes. When you do a concert, you do the same thing in different place. Every night it's the same set that you're singing, the same performances.
But this is the same song for a long time.
This is you do the same song over and over again, but it's only these 3 minutes that make a difference, that will determine whether you are going to succeed or you are going to fail. And the notion that there is 180 million people watching on television, that is impressive for any artist, no matter how big you are.
And an audience waving with flags in front of you during the whole show. It must have been overwhelming for a lot of artists.
I don't even think they notice that, because they are so in their own world and they're so focused on the cameras, on their act. What I actually hear from a lot of artists who come off stage is that it was sort of a blackout. They just did it on autopilot and suddenly they landed back on Earth, and all they can do is sit in the green room and wait.
Well, yeah. I mean, you mentioned all these millions and millions of people watching it. It's not just in Europe, is it? Because we're here for an Australian website, and the contest is being watched all over the world. How have you guys incorporated that over the years? Because I know that Jessica is coming, of course, this year. Do you try to work with that and promote the Eurovision not just in Europe but all across the world?
Yeah. China is coming as well.
Well, we cannot deny that there has been over the years more interest in the Eurovision Song Contest from outside of Europe. Even the broadcasters that are now not participating are still very eager to broadcast it and hop back on board hopefully next year. We see indeed the interest from Australia. We see China, even though it's CCTV 15, China still is an enormous potential because it's over 1 billion people. It's nice for us. It's really nice, but I think it's the greatest thing for the artists, because they have this enormous new market in which they can promote themselves and their song.
And that probably helps getting the better Eurovision artists, the better artists worldwide to the Eurovision. I mean, if they have such an opportunity, it makes it more interesting, I would say, for them to actually participate.
Oh, absolutely, and we do a lot of work behind the scenes to create that awareness by collecting data and making up the arguments to convince artists and their record companies to participate in the song contest, and we distribute that to broadcasters so they can go with these numbers and these facts to a record company and an artist management and say, this is why you should participate in the Eurovision Song Contest. And that is a long-term investment, but we hope that this will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, I've heard the Dutch, actually, because we're here with 3 Dutch people, we're talking in English, but it's a very funny show in that sense. But I've heard the Dutch singer mention that as well. Do you think that has helped the Netherlands to improve the status of the artists that we sent to the contest over the past few years?
I think so. In particular, the result Anouk said last year gave a good boost to the image of the song contest among artists in Holland as well. So now they are willing to participate. Even Ilse, she said, Anouk convinced me by her result to say yes. So it's great now that she's here.
Yeah, and that must be good for you too, because the Netherlands didn't do so well for a long time, and we've seen that countries that are performing or that are scoring less well results, that they sometimes stop participating. It didn't happen in the Netherlands, but it happened with a lot of other countries. And you just mentioned it, that these countries are still willing to broadcast the show. But what exactly do you guys do to make them actually come back, not just broadcast, but participate? For example, next year.
Well, actually, the reason for not participating is very often not the bad result, but the impact of the bad result, which is decreasing ratings, which is artists being less eager to participate, less quality of songs, and so on. And then broadcasters feel they need to take a break to sort of reset their strategy. What we've actually done last year in September is do a workshop in Berlin where we brought together a lot of broadcasters and showcased different ways of selecting your entry. So we had Sweden there, we had Belgium there, we had Germany there to showcase how can you set up a great national selection. Either doing it really big like the Swedes, or do it very small and intimate like they do in Estonia, but nevertheless have good ratings and come up with a good act.
Because is it truly the case that you guys prefer a national selection over an internal selection? Because the rules don't really rule it out yet, but I've seen, over the past few years, we've sometimes seen these ideas of, how you can create that. Why is that?
Yeah, that's right, because we believe that the success of the Eurovision Song Contest really starts on home ground. And to build a brand that is bigger than just 1 week with 3 shows, or if you don't make it to the final, for most people even 1 show, you need a longer time span to create awareness. You need to provide people with more content, and most importantly, if you watch the Eurovision Song Contest and you see an artist on stage who represents your country, you want to have the feeling that you have had an impact on that selection. So we think
so that he truly represents you.
Yeah, and we really believe that a good national selection is the best thing. But we also understand that for some broadcasters it's simply not yet possible, and that they have to do it in a different way, like in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Okay, so to round up the show, we're here now on this Labor Day between the first round of rehearsals and the second round. What's going to happen in the next few days, and what are you going to do? What are your expectations?
Well, we're going to see now the second round of rehearsals. We can see the improvements the artists make, we can see the improvements the direction makes, the dancers make, everything will be improved. We get to see some dresses, final dresses, we get to see the dress rehearsal, we get to opening ceremony. It's a lot of fun every day for people here.
It's going to be a long, busy weekend.
And it's going to be a sleepless week again.
How about you? Is it getting busier for you every day now too?
Well, actually, the closer we get to the final, the more time we spend on site, but the fewer problems we have, because every day we're tweaking and fixing the little things to aim for a perfect organization. Tomorrow we'll have the press conference with DR and EBU, for which you are of course both warmly invited. And then we'll start indeed the second round of rehearsals, and what is of course interesting for us is to see how the artists respond when they go to the viewing room and see how their changes have been implemented, because that is in the end what matters for them.
Have they been satisfied so far with, like, from the first rehearsal, the feedback that you got from the delegations?
Absolutely. Everyone is very happy with the level of professionalism from our Danish colleagues. Of course, everyone has their feedback to make it better, and the production team is working very long days and even nights to implement all these changes.
All right. So that's what these guys are going to do in the next couple of days. What ESC Daily is going to do is follow all these second round of rehearsals from the arena with video footage live every day long. So follow us and follow our new episode of the ESC Daily Show later on this weekend. For now, good night.